It's very easy to find me, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Miller on Sports. Let's bring in a former All-American running back at the University of Florida. I'm sure you saw him dominate the high school level at Fletcher. He's Ciatrick Fason. So I'm checking everything out, and we're going to talk about your Star Ready Athletes program with the Gators team that you have. You can learn more at starreadyathletes.com. I can still picture you dominating the high school level at Fletcher. You were a man amongst boys out there. It was very impressive. When did your love affair begin with football?
When I was actually 6 years old, I have a cousin, two cousins actually. A lot of people know around here. They actually played in the NFL as well. Raheem and Khalid Abdullah. And growing up, I used to watch them. And I was too young to play football, but I always go to the practices and I run with their team on the side. I'd be off doing my own thing, doing every drill that they was doing. And then when I got 7, my aunt signed me up, and I was able to play. And it was crazy because the first year I played, the coach put me on the offensive line. I played right guard. And then the last game of that season, like, we won no games. The last game of the season, he put me at running back, and we ended up getting our first win. And from there, he left me a running back. He actually coached me for up to 6 years, and the year after my first year, we went undefeated. Right after that, went undefeated again, and then I just started loving football. It just became, I knew I was good at it. My aunt always stayed on me, and she was a single parent, and she raised 4 kids, and one thing she told me to do is, as long as I went out there and practiced hard and got good grades, that I could go somewhere. And I took that conversation and I ran with it.
Yeah, in more ways than one, actually. Ciatrick Fason joining us in studio. You can listen online at 1600thebeach.com. Ciatrick, players and coaches always tell me, it seems like all the time, that it's not just talent. You can't have this great basketball or football player that has talent. You have to be willing to work and work and work. Were you that way?
Oh, most definitely. I had the question came up when I was younger. Had a cousin by the name of Derek Waters come up to me when I was 10 years old, and he said, "Ciatrick, do you love the game or do you like it?" And I was like, "I love it." He said, "So every day you go out there, if you're sitting at home, if you're on the field, show that you love the game of football." So every day, no matter if I was on the field or off the field, all I did was practice football. And when I was in elementary school, I used to walk to school, and the school was probably 2 miles away. I put my backpack on and I ran every day from 1st to 5th grade. I ran to school.
Wow.
And I ran back home. So, I think it's not all about just being a gifted athlete. You got to work at what you want to achieve. You got to work to be good. And even in high school, going into the 9th grade, I didn't like to work out. Coming from Part 1 and dominating middle school ball, I was like, I ain't got to work out. It's all gifted. I'm talented. But after my freshman year, I rushed for like 1,300 yards. My freshman year of high school, Clinton Portis came up to me. We played them in a playoff game my senior year, and they knocked us out. They beat us by a touchdown. But, Clinton was a well-known running back coming out of Gainesville. And after the game, he came up to me and said, "Man, if you ever keep this up, man, you could go a long ways." So from that conversation, my defensive coordinator, Kevin Brown, in high school, he told me, "You know what? Now is your time to prepare to be great."
Right. So
I started hitting the weight room. I started running track. I started doing everything I can to be a better player. And I think no matter how talented you is, you always could get better. And I tell kids and even adults and high school players that to this day, no matter how good you is, you could get better. And that's just a witness. If you watch LeBron James from last year and this year, he done worked on his low post game and he done got better. So no matter where you're at in life, you can always get better.
That definitely. Ciatrick Fason joining us in studio, former All-American running back at the University of Florida. I'm sure you saw him as well, but dominating the high school level at Fletcher and played 2 years with the Minnesota Vikings. Coming up, we'll talk more about the Star Ready Athletes. You can find out more at starreadyathletes.com. You played for Ron Zook in the Florida Gators, 2002 to 2004. What is your best memory with the Florida Gators? Do you have one?
I got a couple. My junior year, I say that my last year at UF, we was about to play Florida State. And everybody made a big deal, especially some of the media outlet, I'll say, from Jacksonville and around Gainesville, about me and Leon Washington. Jackson's the only high school that I haven't beat in my high school career, but I beaten everybody else, and people made a big deal about it. They was putting me and Leon as this rival that I guess to them that we were, but to me we wasn't, because a lot of people don't know, but I started varsity football for 4 years. Leon Washington started running back for 1 year, and they tried to put us in the same category, and I really wasn't feeling it, but me and Leon are good friends. But leading up to that game, there was a lot of hoopla about me and Leon, and people telling me I never beat him and such, so I was like, okay. And then they had a big D lineman that year, ended up getting drafted real high. We played them before the game. They asked him about me in an interview, and they was like, what you think about Florida's running back? And he was like, what's the guy's name? And I was like, oh, he don't know my name now. I just rushed I'm over 1,000 yards, he don't know my name. So he was like, yeah, I never heard of that guy. C4 who? he's not blowing up anything. So I was like, all right. So then they started giving us all this bulletin board material. They didn't give up a running back, didn't even have over 60 yards all the way up to, leading up to that game, and I wasn't going to change that. So then we went into that game. I ended up having a good game. I rushed for 106 yards, and to top it all off, I ended the game with the game-winning touchdown to win the game. So
I remember that.
That was my biggest memory, and it was crazy because I always said if I scored the game-winning touchdown, I was going to do the Gator chop in the end zone, and I got the opportunity to do so. That was the biggest game, but I could actually say I had another one, LSU, my sophomore year, being young, being immature. Leading before that game, I was upset about playing time, and I was ready to transfer. I felt like I wasn't given a real chance, and I was about to transfer. And so I missed practice, and I was suspended for the prior game versus Ole Miss, where my duties was just special teams. Yeah, not.
That's no fun. Coach
Zook told me, your duty is just special teams, and I was like, Coach, I've been doing that all year. And he was like, well, that's gonna be your suspension. So I took my suspension. We played Ole Miss, and we lost that week. The Eli Manning in the swamp. But the following week, we was going to Baton Rouge. At the time, they was #1 in the nation. And, Rand Carthon was the starting running back. Deshaun Wynn was the backup running back. And, Ronaldo Hill, who played defensive back for us and played for the Tennessee Titans, he came up to me the morning of the game and said, man, I had a vision. And I was like, what was your vision? He said, man, I dream, man, this is the game that you take off in. And I was like, man, I'm third string running back. How is that going to work? So I just went out there, and, the first quarter, I say the first play, Rand gets hurt. He comes to the sideline, tell Coach Zook, pull my hamstring, Coach. And it's like, all right, next person in. Deshaun Wynn went in, and 2 plays later, his back gave out on him. Coach Zook looked at me, and I looked at Zook, and I was like, I'm next in line, Coach. He said, yeah, here's your chance. You've been waiting for it for a long time. And when I got in, it was crazy. We've been working on the play all week, but the coaches would never let me run it in practice. It was like, you might not play. You need to be special teams. And when I got in, they was running an all-out blitz, and they were dropping the defensive lineman. And Chris looked to the right and said, C4, take it to the house. Run a seam route right past him. So I just took off on the route. He hit me. I scored a touchdown. My first catch ever as a Gator. Scored a touchdown, and from there, my career started. So, that was a real big moment for me.
You remember quite a bit. He is C4, former Florida Gators running back. Also played at Fletcher. Joining us in studio for Miller on Sports. It is 1600 The Beach. Coming back, more stories. We'll talk about the star-ready Gators, the athletes, and 40 kids, right? 40. Good stuff. C4 in studio. You can listen online at 1600thebeach.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Miller on Sports. More of the show. We go weekdays from 4 until 6. More. Stay tuned.